Let me welcome all of you to this panel discussion with a distinguished set of panels sitting on my both sides. And you have been part of this HR Tech conference, and then I believe have been attending various sessions since morning. This session is important because in this session we are going to talk about how technology is enabling the HR leaders in organizations to drive business performance, to drive business results. In that context, this is going to be important because this establishes the link between you as HR leaders and business performance. So the traditional mindset that HR being an enabling function or a support function is just disappearing slowly, and businesses have started believing that HR is business. HR is, there's one leader who said, today in the business world there are no business problems, there are only people problems. So HR can drive significant change in organizations. And they say that smart organizations today need smart HR. So if organizations have to really move on smartly, then the HR have to play a smart role in that. So technology is disrupting the way we live, the way we deal with our customer, the way we engage with our employees, and technology playing a big role. The smaller organizations are creating problems for the larger organizations today. It's like the mosquito which is creating problems for the elephant. An elephant is not able to do anything about the mosquito. That's what is happening today. So in this context, when technology is a big thing, how can HR professionals leverage it? To talk about it, we have a highly distinguished panel with me today, and who are going to share their perspective, bring in their experiences, talk about live examples from their organizations and from customers and then employees that they have been working with. So I will just give a quick, I will quickly introduce the panelists that we have today. And on my extreme left, we have Ankur Berry, who is working with Allstate, and he's a site HR leader in Pune, and has been working in this space for a fairly long time and has been doing a lot of good work in the space of generational diversity. So he will bring in the concept of technology and how technology can play a big role in an organization which has a mix of multiple generations. And then next to him on my left is Manohar K.C. Reddy, who is the CEO of M-Roads, a US-based HR tech company. And Manohar, as we were chatting before the session, was saying that he comes from the technology background, and he always thought HR is a support function. But when he started this HR tech company, his mindset had changed, and he believes that HR technology is the thing which can drive business value. On my right, we have Ajay Bakshi, who is the Director, Human Resources, Vodafone India Services Private Limited. So he is leading HR for the shared services organization of Vodafone in India, 11,000 strong organization spread across 4 locations. And he has a strong team of 40 HR professionals. And he's going to talk about the HR life cycle and how technology can impact HR life cycle today in organizations and bring an experience from his own space. And next to him, on my right is Ajay Rohitashwa, who comes from Bangladesh, who is the Group Chief People Officer in Amra Company, Bangladesh. And he has been a leader in the HR space for a very long time and making a difference and impact in that space. And he's going to bring in the perspective of Bangladesh and then share with us what's going on in that country and what's happening in the HR space there and how is technology being leveraged to drive performance. So the format that we're going to use today in the panel discussion, so I will request each of the panelists to talk for about 5 minutes, share their perspective, their viewpoint on the topic today. Then we will engage in a dialogue and discussion with them. So I would ask them a few questions, and I will also invite all of you, whoever is interested in asking questions, we will invite you to ask questions. So we have about 45 minutes, and each panelist would now speak for about 5 minutes. So I'll probably would like to start with Ankur, and if you can start, Ankur.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. So I know a bit of a tough ask post-lunch session. So, okay, a very quick brief about me. I have about 14 years of experience in HR, worked with Fujitsu prior to this. I was heading HR for India and Middle East, and I took on this role of, getting into an organization which was nearly a startup in Pune. We're about 700 strong now, should be about 2,000 people next year. And yeah, that's a little bit about me. So forgive me, but I'm going to shamelessly refer to the notes that I'd made, just to make sure that I don't miss out on whatever it is that I wanted to share with you. I want to touch upon 2 or maybe 3 key points on what I think CHROs can do today. And the first point that I'd like to talk about is a generational balance. So like Surya mentioned, I think one of the largest problems that we are grappling with is achieving a balance which keeps both the 2 older generations, as I like to refer to them, the baby boomers as well as Gen X. Sorry, but most of us are Gen X, and I think we are fairly outnumbered, or will soon be outnumbered, by Gen Y and Gen Z. And as one of the previous panelists in the other discussion mentioned, I think the average span of a Gen Z worker will be about 7 months with every organization. So I think it's a big problem that we need to grapple with. And some of the ways that I've seen my past organizations dealing with my current organization dealing with it, I think social media is a very, very major lever in terms of kind of getting everybody on board. I think something like Facebook, and we have a Facebook page at Allstate, is something that has worked beautifully for us. I see people between the ages of 20 and 45 using it with the same aplomb, and I think that makes a big statement in the fact that social media is something that most people are willing to embrace today. Whether we like it or not, it is a simple choice. We either embrace it or we perish, and I think most people would prefer to embrace it in order not to perish. I think the expectation and the requirement from both the groups, different levels of readiness and comfort, is something that we need to deal with, and that can be brought about through automation, through making our tools, our workflows as simple as possible, something that can, I'd say, make it equally easy for everybody to use. And I think it needs to cut across different generations in order for us to be able to engage people of different ages. I think there's a major lack of tools today that are integrated with other with each other. Most organizations go in for a fragmented sort of a approach where recruitment is using a different tool, the PMS team is using a different tool, CNB probably not even using a tool, so on and so forth. And I think that doesn't really help our cause because even though data is available, one, we don't have the minds to be able to use that to our advantage, and 2, most importantly, I think they don't talk to each other. So despite the availability of data, we end up a lot of times failing or maybe not being as effective as we need to be. So that's the other point I wanted to bring up, and that is the debate versus having different tools that we use vis-a-vis a single suite end-to-end kind of a integrated platform that an organization can go in for. Again, depends on the size of the organization, the vision, and how far ahead the management thinks. But I think it sort of, to me, makes sense if we have a single suite of products rather than go in for something that is fragmented and probably not integrable. That is one major reason why organizations are not able to effectively leverage the data that they have, because different teams handle them, and again, there's a lack of communication between them. Just like to say one other point, probably the last point that I want to talk about is the fact that integrated tools also make it easy for organizations to increase their predictability And that's a very important factor today in being able to, in times when 3 years is probably long term, from an age a decade ago where even a decade was not long term, I think things have changed drastically. And organizations need to be able to have data that is more predictable. They need to have automation that helps them to identify, people who are probably aging, need to be replaced, or their skill sets are not going to be matching with the requirements of the organization in the near term, and be able to replace them or at least predict what they want to do with that workforce. Likewise, they need to be able to collect all the information, the skill sets, and all of the achievements and work that individuals do, especially our junior level folks who are belonging to Gen Y and Gen Z, because they are the ones who require, who are our workforce of the future, and most importantly, they expect quick turnaround, quick results, and which is why I think we need to be able to turn that around. So that's a little bit from my side. I'll probably hand it over now.
Hi. I'm one of those guys. I just moved in from technology background to HR and HR technology products making. So I just want to give one small story of how my life used to be when I'm with the technology industry. I used to work with Verizon, and it's very big for its self-service and customer experience. So every year we used to have at the start of the year saying that this year is very important for our self-service. So all our products, everything, we just cram in to make sure that the self-service is great. So, but we lose the customer experience. So the customers get dropped in, and there will be so many complaints. At the end of the year, no, this year the self-service, it's been self-service or customer experience is very important. So we remove all the functionality and do the new thing again. So this is the same thing that I want to bring up in this context is it's like a squeezing a balloon. If you squeeze the balloon from one side, the other side of the balloon pops up. So its technology is one of those factors where if you don't use it, it's a tool. End of the day, technology, according to me, is a tool. HR is a big space. If you don't use the tool right, it goes and pops up some other factor that will come up. You'll end up like, let's say we use excessive technology and start hiring all the people. We can hire like hundreds per day. But what happens is the quality of the hire is lost, and so many other things that may come back to us after 1 year. So what I have seen in this whole thing is technology is a major tool which we have to use to build our next generation workforce. This is one of our vision that we have started M-Roads with, building next generation workforce. So all the businesses and HRs, I think, need to realize that technology is not a replacing HR or this one. It should empower HR to do their functions of whatever the function of recruitment or performance management or talent management. So that's the role that we are building tools and products in that, and that's how I view technology in that whole area.
Thank you, Manohar. Ajay?
Yeah, I believe I'm already. Yeah. Good afternoon. I'm Ajay Rohita Shwalkasi. I'm the Group Chief People Officer of Amra Companies. I'm just, since none of you have heard of Amra, it's a Bangladeshi company. Just let me give you a short brief. Amra is the second largest technology company in Bangladesh, and who is the first, we do not know. Okay. I'm in HR for last 23 years, pretty long time, though I believe I don't look that old. I started my career early. So what happened, I have seen the transformation from administration to personnel, IR, and then human resources. Now even we call it talent management, people management. So I have seen the transformation, and certainly what I believe, probably this transformation would not take place if technology wasn't there. Okay, and since I have a leverage leading the technology company in Bangladesh, and the largest one, that helped me to use the technology the way we need to use. First of all, we haven't purchased any software from outside. We have a pool of 300 software engineers in our organization. So we prepared our own. It's an in-house software, and it helped us. It made my life easy, the HR life easy. In any case, whenever there is an investment from the management part or from the stakeholders part, the question comes, what is the ROI? Okay, so we justified it in this way. When we invested in EMS, that is Employee Management System, our own system, we justified in this way that suppose in case of recruitment, earlier our lead time was 6 weeks, now it dropped down to 3. Moreover, it's a transparent, accountable system. The reach is higher, so the investment is better, because that is also an employer branding. In case of performance appraisal, yes. Now the KPIs are set and it's pretty easy to analyze. However, whatever we do, we kept one thing in mind very strongly. That is, we are not eradicate human touch from the HR processes. The end-to-end process in Amra is totally automated, but we have strong HR team, even though lean. But team, say it's a 20% HR team across the country. It's a lean team, effective team, and when technology is there, I believe you have to do less hard work, more brain work, and we are doing that. And in case of retention, even in case of separation, it helped us. If we calculate the ROI, probably our man hour is more expensive now than it was 5 to 7 years back. So that's how it helped. And in my case, what I believe, next 5 years in Bangladesh, there would be more EMSs in place. And HR, the HR leaders, life would be pretty challenging for them, because if they do not co-op, as my earlier speaker said, that either you adopt it or you perish. And the HR leaders, well, if they can cope up with Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, they will be coping up, or else bye-bye dinosaurs. So that is how I look at it, and that is how we are operating in Bangladesh. Thank you, and off to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Just a very, very quick introduction about myself. Of course, Surya has already introduced me. In addition to my responsibility in Vodafone Shared Services India as head of HR, I also sit on the board of Vodafone's holding companies and an operating company of Vodafone called Vodafone Global Services Private Limited. So the views on technology and how technology enables CHROs for business, I think it's self-explanatory in its own right, the title. Technology covers the entire interface of the entire employee life cycle, right from the entry of an employee to the exit here. Now, when we look at technology, we very often look at technology more as a strong tactical or an operational enabler, but technology also plays a very important strategic interface, both within the function as well as for the business here. Now, if you look at the employee life cycle here, we tactically enable it right from the person joining the organization, applying for a job, or even before applying, the way we source an employee. Typically, we do a lot of that. We use technology even for sourcing. In Vodafone, I'll talk about a specific example. We leverage LinkedIn very effectively for sourcing. We post our ads on LinkedIn, job portals, etc. People apply to that, and they are directed to a link in our internal system. It's called Talio. So Talio does the screening of CVs, which helps us save time. A lot of saving time here, which otherwise would have resulted in additional FTEs to do that job. Then the engagement with the employee, the offer letter to the employee, all of that happens leveraging technology as well as the human interface. Then when a person comes on board, creation of the employee's email IDs, the employment number, registrations, etc. All of that technology has made life that much more smoother. When an employee joins in, an employee dossier, which talks about the person's past experience, and when the employee works with us for a while, performance, potential ratings, etc., the experience, different jobs which they do, which gives us a talent profile of the employee. So rather than maintaining spreadsheets here, that platform gives us a very effective snapshot view of the employee. We also try to correlate that to succession planning and individual development planning, and obviously in learning and development. Then when it comes down to learning and development, technology plays an important role, both in terms of driving development. We follow this approach called the 70-20-10. I think a lot of us would be familiar with the approach. With that 10% of development, we've got technology who helps us. We've got academies covering all interfaces, technical, functional, leadership, as well as we've got a tie-up with the Harvard Business School for the Harvard Mentor Program, where we do a lot of these learnings online. So technology also helps in online development, and we're leveraging that quite effectively. For all our work streams, that's the 8 lines of businesses which we have. We've got all of them covered through a development platform. Linking it to career planning, we've got a career path across some of our key business verticals here. And especially in our technology vertical, it talks about, I'll just very briefly touch upon the career path without getting into too many details. When you have the career path, it tells you if you join us either as a graduate engineering trainee or as a lateral, what are the various career options you have, both in terms of the technical career path as well as the managerial career path. If you want to do a head of technology job or you want to do a global role, what are the various experiences you need to have? What are the various skills you need to develop? What is the various development which you need to be going through? So it covers all of that a lot in detail, and a lot of it is also enabled by technology. So keeping all of that in mind, I think the role of technology is to enable us do our roles more effectively. By doing our roles more effectively is look at parameters where technology can enable us, rather than us spending a lot of time, manual time, going through the same motions again and again. Another area which we are also leveraging technology is in payroll management. Now payroll management, again today, the way we operate is largely spreadsheet driven, multiple touch points, multiple locations, 11,000 employees. So when we're looking at technology, technology has to help us make the entire realm of payroll more scalable and sustainable. We can't have the same guys monitoring so many spreadsheets day after day, month on month. It just won't work. Plus it will be prone to manual error. So keeping this in mind, we're also looking at robotics, and we are at the very, very initial stages at this point of time, and leveraging robotics to do strong process-oriented work, which is fairly repetitive, and eliminating the need to have any manual intervention. So therefore, technology can work with us, like I mentioned, and to quickly summarize, across various platforms, both on the strategic side. And in the strategic side, of course, it's also leveraging the right kind of HR analytics and the right kind of tools here to drive things like succession, career planning, career management, leadership development, the impact of learning and development initiatives, and in the tactical and the operational domain as well. So it's a strong enabler, helps us really spend time where we should be spending time, more in terms of understanding what the business priorities are, ensuring that we have the right strategy and the right interventions, and technology helping us do the rest of the work and us leveraging it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ajay. I think the panelists have shared their perspectives, very interesting. Ankur talked about the generation mix, and Manohar talked about how can effectively and then judiciously technology be used. And then Ajay talked about how his organization has been able to become leaner, and how the cycle time to hiring people, the recruitment cycle time, overall efficiency has increased. Ajay Bakshi talked about overall life cycle and how technology can play a big role in each stage, and he talked about robotics and then big data, HR analytics, and so on. I think a lot of interesting perspectives. So we'll try and take this discussion forward. I would like to begin with you. My question would be, you talked about generation mix. And then today, we keep hearing, I think the analysts, they say because of disruption, because of technology, because of automation, a lot of people would lose jobs in the mid-career. And they'll be jobless unless, they kind of keep updating themselves, keep upgrading their skill set and so on. So how can technology play a role in helping HR professionals deal with this challenge?